one Sarah had always been confident about her appearance. Every morning she would wake up, glance at the mirror, and smile at the familiar reflection staring back at her. But this morning was different. As Sarah opened her eyes, an uneasy sensation washed over her. She instinctively reached up to touch her face, but something felt off. The texture of her skin, the shape of her jaw, everything was unfamiliar. Her heart began to race. In a panic, she stumbled out of bed and rushed to the bathroom, hoping it was just a bad dream. But when she looked into the mirror, she froze. The face staring back at her wasn't hers. Her heart pounded as she studied the reflection. The woman in the mirror had a different complexion, different eyes, and even a different expression. Sarah's hand trembled as she touched her cheek, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. This wasn't a dream. This was real. She wasn't looking at her own face. She was looking at a stranger. Whoever she was ugly. Big lips and bulging eyes. Her mind raced in a blur of panic. Was she hallucinating? Was this some cruel joke? Nothing made sense. With fear creeping in, Sarah turned around and called out for her husband, John. "John, something's wrong. Look!" At me, John, still half asleep, shuffled into the bathroom, rubbing his eyes. "What's going on, babe?" Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as she pointed to the mirror. "Look at my face, John. This isn't me. This isn't my face." John glanced at her, then at the mirror, clearly confused. "What are you talking about, Sarah? It's you." "No, it's not. Look closer," she pleaded, her voice cracking. John took a step back, scrutinizing her once more. "Sarah, this isn't possible." "But it is," she cried out. "I don't know who this woman is. I've never seen her before in my life." John took a tentative step forward, his hand reaching toward her face. As his fingers lightly touched her skin, he stepped back, his expression suddenly darkening. Sarah's blood ran cold. "What do you mean? Who is she?" Sarah's mind spun, the world around her beginning to unravel. A missing woman. She had no idea who this stranger was, yet somehow Sarah had woken up with her face. "We need to figure out what happened. This isn't just a physical change. This is something far worse. What if you're not really Sarah anymore?" Fear and confusion gripped Sarah as she looked into John's eyes. The man she had spent her entire life with, the one person who should have reassured her, was now just as frightened as she was. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered, "What do we do now, John? How do we fix this?" John's voice faltered, his mind racing. "I don't know, but we need to get help." With that, Sarah's world crumbled. She was trapped in someone else's skin, with no explanation, no answers, and no idea how to return to the life she once knew. As they scrambled to find a solution, the deeper question loomed. Was she still Sarah, or had she become someone else entirely? Was she still Sarah, or had she become someone or something else entirely? The question lingered in the air, heavy and unanswered, like a weight pressing down on her chest. She stared into the mirror, and the reflection staring back felt almost foreign. The eyes, once full of warmth and life, now looked vacant, hollow. Her skin, unnaturally pale, shimmered with a strange artificial look that didn't belong to her. The face was hers, but it wasn't. Echoes of her past life flitted through her mind. Soft laughter with friends, whispered secrets under blankets, the comforting embrace of her mother. Chapter 2, but now those memories felt fractured, like they belonged to someone else, or like they were being borrowed. The woman in the mirror, was that really Sarah? Or was it a stranger wearing her skin, her thoughts, her name? Her hand reached for the glass, trembling as it hovered just inches from the surface. She was afraid that touching it would shatter the fragile illusion, that the person she believed herself to be would crack apart, revealing whatever horror lay beneath. And then, just as her fingers brushed the mirror, a voice whispered from the shadows behind her, "You're not her anymore." Her blood turned to ice. The voice was familiar, low, measured, laced with something cold. It sounded like her, But that was impossible. She spun around. Nothing, just the silence of her D. She shook her head. It wasn't real. Merely lit bathroom, pressing in like a wall. The air turned heavy, thick with something she couldn't name. Her breath came in shallow gasps as she gripped the edge of the sink, knuckles white, the chill crawling into her bones. She blinked hard, trying to center herself. Then the mirror shifted, not in a way she could explain. It didn't crack or ripple. It just changed. Like disturbed water, the image changed, the features warping slightly, and for a brief, horrifying moment, she saw her real face, but just for a moment. But she didn't leave the house after that, not once. Not after she started digging, desperate for answers. Thank God she didn't have kids yet. How could she even explain? Online forums, obscure message boards, hidden threads, anything that might explain what was happening to her. That's when she found them. The stories, other women. Women who had woken up with someone else's face. People said it was a hoax, a viral story, some creepy urban legend. But Sarah read deeper, followed every breadcrumb. The pattern was always the same. The face changed, the mind frayed, and within 3 months they were dead. No cause of death, no explanation, just gone, and no one seemed to care. The stories were brushed off, forgotten, like folklore meant to scare children. But Sarah knew better. She could feel it. Something was happening. Something no one wanted to acknowledge. And as her world began to bend and twist around her, as the woman in the mirror looked more like a ghost than herself, one terrifying question gnawed at the edge of her sanity. What if she hadn't just changed? What if she had become something else entirely? A hollow echo of the woman she once was, and something far, far worse was now wearing the name Sarah. As days turned into weeks, Sarah's obsession only grew. Her old routine disappeared, replaced by the cold glow of her laptop screen. She spent hours digging through forums, obscure articles, and unsettling posts. John noticed the change. He'd come home to find her exactly where he left her. Eyes, red fingers shaking as she scrolled. "You're getting lost in this," he said gently one night. "This isn't healthy. These are just stories, Sarah. Internet nonsense." But she barely looked at him. To Sarah, the pieces were starting to fit together. She saw a pattern, a hidden truth no one else seemed to care about. It was like she was the only one paying attention. John grew quiet, distant. The house felt colder. His glances at her laptop lasted longer. His touches became fewer. The warmth between them faded into silence. "You're not the same," he whispered one evening from the doorway. "I don't know who you are anymore." Sarah didn't answer. Her mind was tangled in the faces, distorted, unfamiliar faces from the stories. They looked like her. Some even shared her name. All of them changed overnight. All of them disappeared. She no longer felt like herself. Her skin felt wrong. Her thoughts unfamiliar. Each day blurred into the next. The voices in her head, once faint, were now louder, urgent, impossible to ignore. She began to feel watched, the soft creak of the stairs. Footsteps when she was alone, the shuffle of papers she hadn't touched. Shadows moved when they shouldn't. Was she losing her mind, or was something else creeping in? John didn't trust her anymore. She saw it in his eyes, in the way he stood just a little too far from her, like he feared something she hadn't yet admitted even to herself. And maybe he was right. One night, hunched over her laptop, reading yet another chilling post about a woman whose face had changed in the night, Sarah felt a breath at her shoulder. She spun around. No one was there. John stepped into the kitchen quietly. He stood for a moment watching Sarah from behind. Something was different. The air between them felt heavy, like a wall had formed over the past few weeks. He had tried to brush it off, blaming stress, work, or maybe just bad days. But tonight, the silence felt louder than ever. "Sarah," he said softly. She didn't. "And turn." "Not now, John. No." "Now," he said firmly, walking up and placing a hand on her shoulder. She flinched. He gently turned her around. "Who are you?" His voice cracked. "This isn't you. You've been so far away lately. Distant. Cold. I don't even know who I'm talking to anymore." Sarah blinked fast, tears building. She had been avoiding this moment. But now, standing in front of him, there was no hiding. Chapter 3. "I've been followed, John," she whispered, "for weeks now, by something. It's not human. I see it watching me. I feel it." John's brows pulled together. "What are you saying? A ghost? Sarah, come on." She nodded, her voice trembling. "It's real. I met an old woman outside town. Her daughter disappeared. She said the same thing happened. Something followed her. Then her face changed, and she was gone." John stared at her, confused and scared. "You're telling me this thing changed your face? That's why you don't look like yourself. Hope you are not pulling a prank again." "No," she said, barely holding it together. "It's like it's trying to replace me, piece by piece." John stepped back, shaking his head. "This is insane." "No, it's not," she snapped. "It's happening, John, to me. And if we don't do something, I'll be next, just like the others." Sarah stepped out of the house, the quiet of the morning embracing her as she walked to the store. She had a list of groceries to pick up and a quiet day ahead. The sun was bright, the air cool, and for the first time in a while she felt a sense of calm. It wasn't a long trip, but when she returned, something felt off. She opened the door, expecting the usual quiet, but instead the sound of sizzling food greeted her. She froze. Standing in her kitchen was her husband, but there was someone else there too. A woman. She was standing at the stove, chopping vegetables, with the same rhythmic precision Sarah used to. The oddest part, the woman looked exactly like Sarah, same hair, same posture, same movements. For a moment, Sarah stood there, paralyzed by confusion. The woman turned, a smile crossing her face, as she noticed Sarah. "Hey, you're back early," the woman said, her voice eerily familiar. Her husband glanced up, smiling in a way that made Sarah's stomach twist. "I thought I'd surprise you. Look, we're already getting dinner started." Sarah's breath caught in her throat as her mind raced. This was impossible. She hadn't said anything about dinner. She hadn't said anything about coming home early. Yet here they were, her husband, her doppelganger, and the smell of a home-cooked meal in the air. Her heart pounded as she took a step back, trying to process what was happening. Who are you?" she managed to ask, her voice barely, above a whisper. The woman's smile faded slightly, a strange glimmer of recognition in her eyes. "Who are you?" "I am home." The woman's smile faded slightly, a strange glimmer of recognition in her eyes. "Who are you?" Sarah asked again, her voice shaking. The woman didn't answer immediately. Instead, she turned back to the stove, stirring the pot with calm precision. "I'm home," she said, her tone strangely familiar, as though she had been there countless times before. Sarah's heart thudded in her chest. This couldn't be real. She was staring at a mirror image of herself, the real one, but it wasn't her. Her mind spun with confusion and panic, her feet frozen to the floor. She opened her mouth to speak again, but before she could, her husband stepped forward. "Sarah, or whatever is your name, what are you doing here?" Sarah blinked. "What? Do you mean, what am I doing here?" she snapped, her voice rising with alarm. "This is my house. I live here. Who is she?" She pointed towards the woman at the stove. Her husband, a frown forming on his face, crossed his arms. "Sarah, you need to calm down. You've been gone for hours. We've been expecting you back soon." "But—" He hesitated, his eyes darting between her and the woman. "This is strange. You're not acting like yourself." Sarah's mind raced. "I'm not acting like myself. What do you mean? This is my life. This is my house." She looked at her husband, trying to make sense of his words, but his face was so distant as though he didn't even recognize her. I think we have played this game for too long, he continued, his voice now soft, almost pitying. This isn't right. You need to leave. Her blood ran cold. Leave? What do you mean, leave? I'm not leaving my own house. She is the one who needs to leave. The woman turned, a calm smile on her face, and finally spoke. Sarah, or whatever. The hell? Your name, please. We both know the truth. You're not supposed to be here. You need to go. It was like a cold wave crashing over her. What truth? Sarah asked, panic flooding her chest. What are you talking about? Her husband stepped closer, gently but firmly placing a hand on her shoulder. It's okay. You're just confused. We've been trying to give you space, but it's time you understood. She's the real Sarah. Can't you see her face? Sarah, or whatever is your own name, it's time for you to leave. No, Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. I'm me. I'm Sarah. Remember John Darling? I woke up with a new face. This is my home, my life. But her husband's eyes had changed. Empty, distant, cold. He looked past her, as if she weren't even there, and toward the woman who now stood beside him like she belonged. I'm sorry, he said softly, as though apologizing to a stranger. But she's right. You have to go. The words hit Sarah like a slap. Her vision blurred as she stumbled backward, disoriented. No, I won't go. I won't leave. This is my home. This is my life. But it was no use. The more she thought, the more their eyes turned cold, indifferent. The woman stepped forward, reaching out, her touch icy as she gripped Sarah's arm and guided her toward the door. Her husband remained silent, watching as Sarah was pushed out, his face unreadable. Please, Sarah pleaded. I'm not who you think I am. Please, just listen to me. But her husband's voice was final, detached. I can't let you stay here, Sarah, or whoever you are. You're not her. You need to leave. And as the door slammed shut behind her, the eerie sound of the lock clicking into place rang in her ears, sealing her fate. Outside, the world was cold and unfamiliar. The woman who looked exactly like her was now inside, and Sarah was standing alone on the doorstep, no longer part of the life she had known. Her heart raced as she stood there, unable to comprehend what had just happened, unable to understand how she had been replaced. Then it dawned on Sarah. She had just been kicked out of her own home, and as she stood there, dust on her slippers and confusion clouding her face, she didn't look anything like the owner of the house. It was surreal, disorienting, like waking up in someone else's nightmare. What could she even do now? Her phone was nearly dead. Her heart felt the same. She had one sibling, Chinny, somewhere in Lagos. But would Chinny even believe her? They hadn't spoken in months, maybe a year. The last call ended with silence that felt like a slammed door. Sarah sank onto a concrete slab by the roadside, her mind spinning. And then she remembered a story, one she had read from one of the old forum posts, the poor widow's daughter who had taken her life. Everyone said it was because of shame, but Sarah had always suspected it was something deeper, something no one wanted to name. Maybe there were answers in that story, maybe not. But sitting here, watching her world dissolve into unfamiliar air, Sarah knew one thing. She had to move, somewhere, anywhere. Before the weight of what just happened crushed her completely, she had to go visit the widow. Perhaps the answer she sought was there.